The 9 Escorts of IJN Yamato, Operation Tengo, April 7th, 1945. On April 1st, 1945, Allied forces invaded the Japanese island of Okinawa. Japanese Navy commanders were assigned the responsibility of coordinating a suicide mission. The suicide mission involved some of Japan's remaining warships, including the super battleship IJN Yamato. The original plan consisted of beaching Yamato on Okinawa and engaging in battle until her destruction. The mission was codenamed Operation Tengo. On April 6, 1945, at approximately 3:20 p.m., IJN Yamato departed Tokuyama bound for Okinawa, commencing the suicide mission. During the voyage, Yamato was escorted by 1 light cruiser and 8 destroyers. Meanwhile, with the help of the American submarines USS Hackleback and USS Threadfin, who were monitoring the fleet's movements, American codebreakers were able to uncover information about the convoy and its intentions. This resulted in the American Navy scheduling a large-scale air attack for the following day. On April 7, 1945, at 12:32 p.m., American aircraft began their air attack over the Japanese fleet, specifically focusing on Yamato. On April 7, 1945, at 2:20 p.m., IJN Yamato, who had been hit by at least 11 torpedoes and 6 bombs over the course of nearly 2 hours, finally capsized. 3 minutes later, at 2:23 p.m., Yamato blew up and sank, taking 3,055 of her crew to the depths of the Pacific Ocean. However, Yamato was not the only warship of the Japanese fleet that was sunk during the air raid. 5 of her 9 escorts were sunk along with Yamato on April 7, 1945. Here are the stories of the 9 Japanese warships that escorted Yamato during her final mission. IJN Yahagi. Commissioned in 1943, IJN Yahagi was a Japanese light cruiser that had a length of 175 meters. In June of 1944, Yahagi participated in the Battle of the Philippine Sea. In October of 1944, she participated in the Battle of Leyte Gulf. During both these battles, Yahagi escaped unharmed. However, her luck would soon run out. In April of 1945, Yahagi was the only light cruiser requisitioned to escort IJN Yamato during Operation Tengo. During the mission, Yahagi was placed in the lead as Yamato followed her. The 8 destroyers were deployed around the 2 ships. On April 7, 1945, at 12:46 p.m. during the air attack, 1 torpedo struck Yahagi towards her engine room, killing her entire engineering crew and slowing down her speed until the ship finally came to a full halt. Now dead in the water, Yahagi became easy prey for the American aircraft. The light cruiser was struck by a total of 6 more torpedoes and 12 bombs. At 2:05 p.m., Yahagi capsized onto her starboard side and sank with a loss of 445 crew members. IJN Asashima. Commissioned in 1943, IJN Asashima was a Japanese destroyer that had a length of 119 meters. On February 29, 1944, Asashima was successful in sinking the American submarine USS Trout with the loss of all 81 crew members on board. In October of 1944, Asashima participated in the Battle of Leyte Gulf. During the battle, the destroyer rescued 171 survivors from the sunken heavy cruiser IJN Otago. In April of 1945, Asashima was one of 8 destroyers requisitioned to escort IJN Yamato during Operation Tengo. On April 7, 1945, at around 5 a.m., Asashima's speed decreased due to engine problems, resulting in her falling behind from the convoy. Shortly after noon that day, Asashima, who was out of visual range from the main fleet, radioed to the convoy that they were being attacked by American aircraft. After that, all contact with Asashima was lost. What had happened was that Asashima got caught in the American air attack and was sunk with the loss of all 326 crew members on board. IJN Fuyutsuki. Commissioned in 1944, IJN Fuyutsuki was a Japanese destroyer that had a length of 134 meters. In April of 1945, Fuyutsuki was requisitioned to escort IJN Yamato during Operation Tengo. On April 7, 1945, during the air raid, Fuyutsuki was one of the very few warships of the fleet that survived the attack. In 1948, after the end of the Second World War, Fuyutsuki was scrapped. IJN Hamakaze. Commissioned in 1941, IJN Hamakaze was a Japanese destroyer that had a length of 119 meters. In 1943, Hamakaze participated in the Battle of Kula Gulf and in the Battle of Kolombangara. On November 29, 1944, Hamakaze was one of 3 ships in charge of escorting IJN Shinano, Yamato's sister ship. During the early hours of the day, the supercarrier was struck by 4 torpedoes fired by the American submarine USS Archerfish. Shinano sank nearly 8 hours later. Hamakaze and the 2 other escorts rescued the survivors. In April of 1945, Hamakaze was requisitioned to escort IJN Yamato during Operation Tengo. On April 7, 1945, at around 12:45 p.m., during the air attack, a bomb struck the warship, followed by a torpedo striking her on the starboard side. At 12:48 p.m., Hamakaze broke into 2 pieces and sank. Approximately 100 crew members were lost. IJN Hatsushimo. Commissioned in 1934, IJN Hatsushimo was a Japanese destroyer that had a length of 104 meters. During her career, Hatsushimo saw service in the Second Sino-Japanese War, the Japanese invasion of French Indochina, and the Battle of Leyte Gulf. In April of 1945, Hatsushimo was requisitioned to escort IJN Yamato during Operation Tengo. During the air attack of April 7, 1945, Hatsushimo miraculously escaped unharmed and rescued survivors from Hamakaze, Yahagi, and Yamato. On July 30, 1945, after having been struck by a naval mine launched by an Allied aircraft, Hatsushimo was run aground to prevent her from sinking. The warship would ultimately be scrapped between 1948 and 1949. IJN Isokoze. Commissioned in 1940, IJN Isokoze was a Japanese destroyer that had a length of 119 meters. In October of 1944, Isokoze saw action in the Battle of Leyte Gulf. During the battle, Isokoze captured this final photograph of IJN Musashi, Yamato's sister ship, minutes before sinking. On November 29, 1944, Isokoze was one of 3 destroyers in charge of escorting IJN Shinano when she was torpedoed and sunk by the American submarine USS Archerfish. Isokoze and the 2 other escorts rescued the survivors. In April of 1945, Isokoze was requisitioned to escort IJN Yamato during Operation Tengo. During the air attack of April 7, 1945, Isokoze was severely damaged and became unable to navigate. 20 crew members on board Isokoze were killed during the attack. Despite the damage she sustained, Isokoze was able to remain afloat. There were initially plans to tow Isokoze to land. However, this would slow down the remaining ships that had survived the air attack. In the fear of a submarine attack or another air raid the following day, Isokoze's crew was transferred on board Yuki Kazi. At 10:40 p.m., once the transfer was complete, Isokoze was scuttled. IJN Kasumi. Commissioned in 1939, IJN Kasumi was a Japanese destroyer that had a length of 111 meters. In October of 1944, Kasumi participated in the Battle of Leyte Gulf. On November 5, 1944, Kasumi rescued survivors from the sunken heavy cruiser IJN Nachi. In April of 1945, Kasumi was requisitioned to escort IJN Yamato during Operation Tengo. During the air attack of April 7, 1945, at 1:27 p.m., Kasumi was attacked by American aircraft, killing 17 people. Kasumi became severely damaged and unable to navigate. Eventually, Fuyutsuki pulled alongside Kasumi and rescued her surviving crew. At 4:57 p.m., once every remaining living soul disembarked the warship, Kasumi was scuttled. IJN Suzukitsuki. Commissioned in 1942, IJN Suzukitsuki was a Japanese destroyer that had a length of 134 meters. In April of 1945, Suzukitsuki was requisitioned to escort IJN Yamato during Operation Tengo. During the air attack of April 7, 1945, Suzukitsuki's bow was blown off by American aircraft, killing 57 people. Despite the ship's bow being blown off, Suzukitsuki would be successful in beaching herself. Between April and May of 1945, Suzukitsuki would be repaired. In November of 1945, after the end of the Second World War, Suzukitsuki was sold to the scrapyard. IJN Yuki Kazi. Commissioned in 1940, IJN Yuki Kazi was a Japanese destroyer that had a length of 119 meters. During her career, Yuki Kazi saw service in the naval battle of Guadalcanal and in the Battle of Colombangara. On November 29, 1944, Yuki Kazi and two of her sisters were given charge of escorting IJN Shinano, Yamato's sister ship. During the voyage, Shinano was torpedoed and sunk by the American submarine USS Archerfish. Yuki Kazi and her sisters rescued the survivors. In April of 1945, Yuki Kazi was requisitioned to escort IJN Yamato during Operation Tengo. During the air attack of April 7, 1945, Yuki Kazi sustained minimal damage, killing 3 crew members. Yuki Kazi would survive the air attack. In 1947, after the end of the Second World War, Yuki Kazi was handed over to the Republic of China as part of the war reparations. Yuki Kazi, now renamed Dan Yang, served for the Republic of China until her scrapping in 1970. When added, the number of casualties from Operation Tengo exceeds 4,000. Operation Tengo, which occurred exactly 79 years ago on this day, is mostly known for having been Japan's final major naval operation of the Second World War. Rest in peace to all those who lost their lives 79 years ago during Operation Tengo on April 7, 1945. May they never be forgotten.